Okay, we're going to be taking a look at some of the hit reaction physics that can occur depending on locational damage, types of weapons fired, stuff like that. I'm using a bit of an older game now. In this game, it's giant fighting robots, but that's okay. The example will work anyway for what we're trying to describe for just like human character models. So for example, depending on the type of weapon being fired, a laser, for example, has a very weak amount of force. So you can shoot an arm, for example, and there's no reaction on the model. However, if, for example, I was to fire a larger gun, an autocannon, you can see I can shoot the mech in the arm, the enemy in the arm, and there's a hit reaction depending on where he gets hit. Now, if I shoot him in the leg, that's a pretty solid location that doesn't actually take a reaction. Our model will probably take some amount of reaction in the leg, but in this case it doesn't. If I shoot him in the torso, you can see that it's a different reaction, right? So if I shoot him right in the center, he kind of jiggles back. If I shoot him in the arm, he jiggles to the left. If I shoot him in the other arm, he jiggles to the right. And like I say, this depends on the amount of force being applied. So here's a different type of weapon. Actually, that one seems to create about a similar effect. But larger weapons, which I'm not sure if I have an example for right now, larger weapons would create a more exaggerated effect. So let me just see here. I've got number 5. Yeah, anyway, you can see there's a certain amount of jiggle from that, whereas I think number 4 creates a bigger jiggle. Yeah, it's subtle. You can't see it that well, but it's there. And our hit detection system is actually going to be even more detailed. But what you can see is that the overall structure wants to have a balance. It wants to hold its current balance. So when it gets hit, the amount of force that gets applied. The amount of force that gets applied, the model wants to bounce back to its original shape. It wants to find its balance again. So it's almost like we need a bit of a balance system that will then take into account incoming force and projectiles. And as you can see, he kind of teeters a little bit to the side. It's hitting the arm. Doesn't really have a reaction in that case, but yeah, I'd like to do an even more sophisticated version of this sort of hit detection system, depending on where a model is hit and how much force is being applied. And that's the basic idea. But the main thing is that depending on how hard he gets hit, by how big the weapon is that's hitting him, he'll either respond a little bit, he'll respond a lot, and then depending on where he's being hit, he'll respond kind of accordingly. So it's fairly simplistic on these giant fighting robots. They don't have that much mobility. But on a player, on a person, there would be more of a reaction, and there would be more locations that would have differing effects depending on where the player hits or got hit. If they got hit on the leg as they were running, it might sort of cause their character to, for example, trip a little bit or wobble around a little bit, or maybe even slow down a little bit. But there would be also a sort of animation effect. It doesn't show on this, but ours will. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of the idea.